minutes on doing this live stream with no audio. So guess what? We're going to start all over from the beginning. And I'm just going to edit this video down to this point where I realize that I've been going for almost 22 minutes having no audio for you, the listener, to hear. And so with that said, we're going to take 2 on this, and I'm going to edit this down. And so tonight we're going to talk about, once again, the importance of helping you as a man to rise up above the noise that is in your life, whether if that noise is externally or if that noise is on the inside of you. And so, James, if you can hear me now, I appreciate, man, that you have stayed to the end, and anyone else who's joined watching me, and you stayed watching for 20 minutes with no audio. But with that said, we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward. And so tip number 1, to rise above the noise in your life as a man, it starts with understanding and finding and discovering God has a purpose for your life. When you understand that God has a purpose for your life, that's going to help you. That's what's going to help me to rise above the noise in our lives. That's what's going to help me and you to rise above the noise in our lives. When you understand that every male that is born in this world, they're born as a male. But a man is made through decision and wise choices. I'll say that again. Every young child born into this world, the male is born as a male. But a man is developed through wise choices and decisions through purpose. And when you understand that God has given you a purpose, you're going to be able to rise above the noise that's in your life. Another way that you come to discover and find purpose is understanding that God has given you a passion on the inside of you. And that passion can be the connective tissues to helping you to find and discover what your purpose is. What are you passionate about as a man? What gives you excitement? What's your hobbies? What's your interest? That the passion that if you're able to do it for free, you would do it because it gives you so much passion and enjoyment on you doing it. Not only are you able to discover and find purpose through your passion, but it's through your identity of who you are. When you have clarity about who you are as a person, you won't fall into the trap, what I call the comparison game, of trying to compare yourself to someone else that you admire, that they are doing so much well off than you think they are than yourselves, but you don't understand the story and the pathway of their journey that got them where they're at, because you didn't see the behind the scenes that got them to the place of where they are. And the truth of the matter is, the same person that you may be admiring, they may be admiring you, and they don't understand your pathway and your journey. And so when you understand who you are as a person, your identity as a person, it's going to help you to find and discover purpose. Your skills, your talents, your abilities are all connected to the God-given purpose that God has given you. And you also understand that this purpose is not to glorify men, to glorify people, but this God-given purpose that God has given you is to glorify Him. You need to understand as a man, if you're going to rise above the noise in your life, to be able to find and discover purpose, you have to go to the manufacturer who made the product. Take the iPhone with the latest iPhone 16 Pro with all its technologies and tools that it has. Well, for you to be able to use it to the capacity in which it was created and get the full benefits out of it, if you are struggling on how to do that, you go to the manufacturer. And one of the ways you go to the manufacturer is you go into the phone's settings and you begin to figure out on how certain things work within the phone, or you read the manual that came with it. Now, if that's true about the iPhone, it is also true about me and you as men if we would go back to the manufacturer, who is God, and the manual that he's given me and you, which is called the Bible. Within the Bible, we will discover and find the purpose that he placed us here for. I'm reminded of a scripture in Proverbs 19:21 that says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that will prevail. Are you depending and trying to live your life off of your own plans? Or are you trying to live your life and letting God's purpose to prevail in your life so that way you can rise above the noise in your life? If you're just joining me, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. All right. All right. James has a comment here. Let me see here. It says, that's how we learn. We have to do it all over, please. You know I was going to do this all over. This is just too good, which takes me to my next point. We talked about purpose. Let's talk about potential. Potential. God is not only giving me and you purpose, but he's giving me and you potential. When you think of the word potential, what comes to mind? What comes to mind? Let me know in the chat, those of you who are watching me live. What comes to mind about potential? Well, for me, I think about untapped abilities, untapped potential, dormant abilities that have not been used yet. I think of the seed. When you look at an orange tree or an apple tree, within the seed of that apple are more apples. When you look at the acorn, within the acorn is a big oak. Within the acorn is a tree, ultimately that can be made a forest, all within the seed. Now, if that's true for trees and fruits and other things, what about me and you? Within every little boy is a man. Within every man, there is a family. Within every family, there is a generation. Didn't God tell Abraham that I'm going to make you the father of many nations? But he started with his seed, potential. Too many of us of men don't understand the true potential God has placed on the inside of us. And it's because we're allowing the noise on the inside of us to get us to question, do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes to be a great husband? Do I have what it takes to be a devoted father? Do I have what it takes to be a man of integrity? To be able to rise above that noise on the inside of us, we got to understand the potential God has placed in us. And not only understand it, but we got to be able to release it. We got to be able to release our potential. Not only do we have to be able to release our potential, we have to be mindful to maximize it and not waste it. Too many of our prisons are filled with men who have made bad decisions in the moment of anger and rage, and have now got them in a place where they're spending 10 to 25 years of their lives and their potential now is not being used in the way it was truly meant to be used, and it's wasted. So, purpose, potential, which brings me to our next point, platform. God has given me and you in these times that we live in a platform to be able to walk in purpose and to unlock our potential. We just have to be willing to build our platforms. We have to be able to use the creative talents and abilities that he's given us to use that platform, and we have to be willing to tell our story. We got to be willing to tell our story, not someone else's story, but the story, or what they say in church, your testimony. As a man, your story. Each and every one of us has a story. It may be a war story, but it's a story. It may be a family story, but it's a story. It may be a rough story, but it's still a story that you can share and encourage someone others with your platform. It's a story that you can be able to go into the corporate world, and when you're on the elevator and give an elevator pitch for 30 to 60 seconds and tell someone about who you are and what you do and how you help others through your platform. And then finally, how you can add value to others. Hey, if you're getting value out of this second go round of this live stream video on being able to rise above the noise in your life, do me a favor, click the like button for me, share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you're new to the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel and click the alert notification button and be a part of the conversation of real men that are raising the standard of manhood in their lives. Which brings me to summary. The summary of, we've talked about purpose, we've talked about potential, and we've talked about using your platform. And so the question of the day that I have for you, those of you who are watching me live and those of you who are watching the replay, are you rising above the noise that's in your life, in this world that tries to tell us who we are as men and what our place is in this world as men? Are you rising above the noise? Are you rising above the noise that you're hearing on the inside of you that's trying to be greater than the voice of God that's speaking louder to you in your heart to tell you that you are a man of purpose and potential and that he's given you a platform? Let me know in the chat. So that's the content. This is some content we're gonna definitely share, continue to share through other forms of content creation, through shorts. And when this is done, we're going to take this live stream and we're going to take the first 20 minutes of it and we're going to get rid of that part that where we were on silent the entire time. And then through my good man James, he let me know that you had no audio the whole time. So as James said, we had to do this all over. We had to do this all over because, yes, even in live stream, you can turn around and have audio issues where your mic is not working, where your internet is not moving as smooth that it should be moving. But don't let that discourage you. Don't let that stop you. If God has given you purpose and God has given you potential on a platform, don't let that discourage you. Had I would have did this whole thing, I would have turned around and went back live to get this message out. That's how important it is that I need to share. And to those of you who have been watching me live here, I'm so grateful. But I'm also grateful for the replay crew who are watching me up to this point. So if you have a comment, please do me a favor. Give me a C in front of the comment. If you have a question, put a Q in front of the question. And let's just kind of have a conversation for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Any thoughts, any comments? What are you doing as a man? Share with me in the chat. What are you doing as a man to rise above the noise that's in your life? the noise that's trying to tell you that you can't be the husband that your wife needs you to be? What are you doing to rise above the noise, to be a man of integrity that other young men can look to be encouraged by? What are you doing? You know, I was just sharing with my niece husband, who they just recently got married, um 2 weeks ago, around about 2 weeks ago, and I was sharing them with them the day before they were getting married, that I've been fortunate to be married now for over 23 years. I've been a father now for good, and I'm not going to tell you the exact age because I don't want my teenager, my young adult, to jack me up, but I can tell you that I've been in the game of fatherhood now for over 15 years, 15 plus. So there's some wisdom there, there's some experience there. I've been living this life as a man now for over 50 plus years. And I know the mistakes that I made in my young 20s, in my mid 20s. I'm working on a video right now called My Biggest Mistake as a Man. My biggest mistake as a man. And in the video that I'm putting together, I asked the question, what has been the biggest mistake that I've made that I've had to learn from? And the one thing that comes to mind is the biggest mistake that I've made in my life as a man is not dedicating the time to invest and to develop a skill set in my life that I could ultimately make money from, but I could also make money from in the years to come. That has probably been one of my biggest mistakes as a young man. Developing a skill set, maybe working with, say, cameras and video production in this day and age. No one can really tell the future, but I do recall the times when certain people would come to me and say, "Are you interested in learning about cameras? Are you interested in learning about video production?" And I was so caught up in the moment of trying to work for someone else, trying to make a living and being a productive and good employee, that I didn't invest the time in developing a skill set in myself that would be something that could benefit me down the road. Now I fast forward now since the pandemic, and now I'm doing live streaming, and I'm in front of a camera such as an iPhone, and I'm making videos, and I question and I ask myself, if I would have stopped and took the time to develop and learn that skill back in my mid 20s, where I could be now. You could probably look at a certain point in your life where there was a certain skill set and ability that you could have learned, but you, like me, was so focused on having a strong work ethic, being, dependable and being trustworthy to a job where you could work and make a living and get promoted with the hopes that you could advance in corporate America. To me, that has been one of my biggest mistakes. And so I'm working on a video of that because I want to share with other men, young men in their 20s, on making sure you don't make that same mistake that I made. So that's just one of the important things that we're sharing here on the Real Men Rising YouTube channel. James says, he says, what? The time is right on time, and no regrets. You started it at the time where you were supposed to be. I believe that. I believe that, James. I do. But I also think about the missed opportunities. And I just use video camera and photography as an example. I remember in my teenage years, where I had a cousin who was real good with mechanics and working on engines, and he wanted to teach me about working on cars at 16, 17 years old. But of course, you know where we're at age 16 and 17 years old. We're teenagers. We want to hang out with our friends. We want to go chase the girls. We want to do all the things that teenagers do. But I wonder, I look back on my life, and not that I'm trying to have an affair with the mistress called regret, but I wonder, had I would have had the discipline to learn a skill instead of working for another company that I'm spending 20 to 30 years for, with the hopes of trying to get a gold watch and a pension. And so that's what Real Men Rising is about, sharing our stories as men. But great point. Great point. If there's anyone else in the chat, let me know where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And those of you who have been watching the replay up to this point, I'm so greatly appreciative to you. You best believe the first 20 minutes of this live stream will be adjusted, so that way you don't have to go through the entire first 20 minutes with no audio. But it's all good. It's all good. That's how important this message is. And so we're not going to get discouraged. We're just going to continue to press on, because we have something to say. You know, when I think about this channel, Real Men Rising YouTube channel, I think about, like we talked about, the voices of manhood last week, about Edwin Lewis Cole and the Christian Men's Network, and how they would reach and encourage men. We talked about the voices of manhood, like Bill McCartney and Promise Keepers, and how they were able, through one event in the Washington, D.C. mall, speak to over 600 to 800,000 men. And when I think about Real Men Rising, and I look at the platform of YouTube and the other platforms that I have available, I said, oh yeah, that's possible. We can share content that can reach over 600 to 800,000 men, whether live or watching the replay, whether if they're in the US or around the world. That's possible. And that's the mission. That's the mission, to encourage men to lead by love and integrity in their homes, to encourage men to be great husbands, faithful fathers, and good sons. That's the mission. That's the mission. So, well, I don't see any more comments. Okay, did that one. I want to thank my brother James, and those of you who have been watching and listening. I want to thank my online listeners who maybe you've been listening to me driving in the car. I appreciate it. Or you're busy working in your man cave, and you just got me on. I appreciate it. I appreciate my sisters who have an important man in your life, whether if it's your husband, if it's your son, if it's your father. I appreciate you listening. And again, I want to encourage you to make sure that you subscribe to the channel, click the alert notification button, so that way you'll know when we're going live, and check out our latest piece of content. We have some great shorts that you can listen to, less than 60 seconds, and got a video that if you are a person who's struggling with being able to have clarity in your life, we have a YouTube video that's going to help you to find clarity in your life as a man. If you are a person who's been struggling with the comparison game and you're stuck in the comparison trap, we have a video on how you can break free of the comparison game, and so much more. So again, I want to thank my good man James, and those of you who've been listening online, those of you watching the replay. Hey, I want to leave you with an important thought, and that thought is, broken crayons steal color. In the hands of little children, broken crayons can be used to color and to make, in their minds, their greatest masterpiece. You as a man right now may be feeling broken and discouraged in your heart. about why things are going on in your life right now. Be encouraged. If you humble yourself and place yourself in God's hands, He will help you to still color and create your greatest masterpiece. Hey, we'll see you on the next Man Talk Live. God bless.